Welcome to TRL Radio with your hosts, Eric and Michele Hall.
Your average Joe experts in simplified health. Welcome to TRL Radio. We are your hosts, Eric and Michele Hall, and we are so glad that you decided to join us today and hit play. We have an extremely special interview today that I will be able to do. We'll be interviewing the person who has had the biggest influence on me in my entire life. So if you don't like who I am, you can blame this person. If you do like who I am, you can thank me because I took that. Just kidding. We are going to be interviewing my co-host, the one, the only, Michele Hall today. Yes, this will be amazing. This will hopefully be one of many where we'll be able to share our stories. So, but some background on Michele. Michelle's worn many entrepreneurial hats, from running her own photography business where she photographed families, weddings, various other special occasions, to launching her own bakery named Honey Butter Bakery, which was delicious. Maybe led to a little bit of the weight gain. Where her specialty was custom created and intricately decorated cutout cookies that were featured on Amazon, among other places. Michele is currently a substitute teacher where she's taught all age groups ranging from K to 12. With all that, though, Michelle's most important titles are wife and mother, where she's been married to yours truly for 25 years.
Crazy.
And is the mom to 4 kids, and we say kids because they're ranging in ages from 18 to 24. They're still our kids, your kids, but they're not really kids anymore. So anyhow, Michele, welcome to the big show. Welcome to TRL Radio. How does it feel to be on the other side of the microphone?
It is an honor. It is an honor to be here today.
Dream come true?
Dream come true for me, yes. Very excited to share my story with you here on TRL Radio.
Yeah. So, well, with that, let's just jump right into it. So tell us about your origin story, your background, who you are, what things happened to you or that are in your life that help make you the amazing woman that you are today.
I'm so glad you asked. Man, if you want to get to know who I am and why I am the way I am, I guess we probably need to go way back to little Michele, little baby Michele. Because, there's a lot of crazy things that life brought my way, but it's one of those things you can be thankful because was it like all the things you've gone through have brought you to where you are today. And I'm very thankful to be where I am today. So, but with that being said, I definitely came from a broken home. My parents were divorced, kind of a messy divorce when I was 3 years old. So there's very few memories that I have before when they were actually married. My dad remarried pretty quickly after, and never really was super close with my stepmom. And I totally get it. Like she, they went on to have 2 more kids, and she wanted the new family, and I was the girl that reminded him of his past and his other wife. And so, like, I totally get that. Now that, I'm married and have kids of my own, like, we get along very well, and it's great. But back then, it definitely wasn't, like, my most favorite relationship, I would say. Made visiting my dad's house interesting. Living with my mom for a long time, it was just the 2 of us. I think a solid 9 years where maybe she would date here and there, but it was just the 2 of us. And I grew up with her kind of being like my best friend, which you think, oh my gosh, that's amazing that your mom was your best friend. And it was. There was a lot of things that I'm very thankful for the time that my mom and I had. But you think as a kid growing up, like you need a mom. And she had to wear many different hats, right? Like being a single mother. And so it was hard at times, but we at least had each other. Once my mom remarried, she had 2 more kids. And this isn't the episode where I'm going to dive into everything, maybe one day, but definitely not today. But I will say this, that I was the kid who I had definitely a traumatic past. I was the kid who had the runaway backpack in the back of the closet, right? And not because I was, mad at my parents for telling me no and I threatened to run away, but more because like I didn't feel safe. I was more nervous about what's going to happen tonight. Am I okay to be here? Always had an exit plan. Always had someone in my mind of, okay, if I need to, I can go to this person, because home was not a safe place. So with that, like I said, there was just a lot of chaos and a lot of struggle there. And I noticed that as a young kid, I became a control freak over the things I could be a control freak over. Sure. And when there's chaos surrounding you, the things that you do have control over, like that's yours. And so for me, it was my room. I was the kid who I loved everything to be super clean, super organized. Everything had a place, and it was the place that I wanted it to be, and no one touched it, and it was mine. I wouldn't just throw my dirty clothes in the hamper because that wasn't organized enough. I literally would fold my dirty clothes, put them in the hamper, and then, wash them. So I was that kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it was my space. It was the one thing that I had control over in what felt like a very uncontrolled situation. And so, having just, again, and without diving into it, just different things happening, like that feeling of not ever really belonging, not feeling like I belonged necessarily at my dad's house, not feeling like I belonged at my mom's. They both were remarried with kids and starting like these new lives. And it was kind of like feeling stuck in the middle. And just a little sneak peek into a future episode here. I know that there was a lot of those feelings for you as well, which I think is part of the reason why we were drawn to each other. Like we were two people who didn't feel like we belonged anywhere, but together we did.
Right.
I know, so poetic, but truly it was like, oh, we never felt like we belonged anywhere. And then it was like together, oh, this is my place of belonging. You brought that sense of belonging. I don't know, fast forward a little bit. But anyway, so take all that, go through high school feeling that, I was not a nerd, but I wasn't the popular kid either. I was kind of that in between where people knew who I was and they were like, oh yeah, that Michele chick, she's nice, but couldn't really keep close friendships. I had like one or two close girlfriends at a time. The amount of relationships that were lost because little Susie and, wasn't allowed to hang out with me anymore. I'd get the phone call. Oh, yeah, my mom doesn't think it's smart for me to come to your house anymore, and we can't hang out anymore. And a lot of that kind of stuff, which, again, growing up, you're like, okay, I finally found people I belong with. Right. And even those are, now being taken away from me. So high school, I can't say it was rough. There was definitely moments that were great, and I definitely had some good friends throughout. But even now, I'm like, I can't think of anyone that I really keep in touch with or, anything like that. And maybe people don't. Maybe, high school, you don't have a whole lot of friends that you hang out, with on a regular basis once you grow up. But definitely not the case for me. So now that I'm an adult and I've had all these, different past traumatic experiences that I came through, it's hard to let go of some of those things. Some of those practices of needing to be in control of the things that you can be in control of. And it's funny because like life's not chaotic now. I mean, life is life, right? Life be life. And so there's still chaos, but it's not like what it was. Sure. But for how many years was I the person who like everything in the refrigerator had to be facing a certain way, everything in the cupboards, to a point where I wouldn't let you or the kids help me with anything because it wasn't right. Like it needed to be exactly the way I wanted it to be. And it's only been over the past couple years maybe where I've kind of relinquished that and said, okay, I guess if I want help, like I need to let people in. I need to let people help and let them help in the way that they want to. I think I've gotten better, right? Have I gotten better?
Yeah. I mean, part of it maybe because I was the person who also would purposely go and after you were done, turn out the labels so they were facing every which way except the right way, just to be annoying.
Yeah. You were trying to help me through, my control issues. It's like the letter board. Everyone has these letter boards where you like put the cute little phrases on it and stuff. And I had one that I had put, if you can be in a world where you can be anything, choose to be kind. And I came down and someone rearranged all the letters and I instantly blamed the kids. And I was like, guys, come on. Like, this takes me a lot of time to put this together. And they're like, Mom, we didn't do it. Mom, we didn't do it. I'm like, okay, of course. Just magically happened. Come to find out who actually messed up the letters. Who messed up the letters, Eric Hall?
I did. I'm trying to remember what I put.
You said in a world where you can be, I said in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And you said be dink.
Right.
And then it became the ongoing joke where every time I would put letters up, like now the kids thought it was okay to change them. And we had some really interesting phrases that went up on those boards.
Yep. So if you remember anything from this episode, you can be anything in this world.
Be dink.
Be dink.
Be dink, yeah. So just helping me grow in that way of letting go of my control issues. But yeah, so again, like I think that really shaped a lot of who I was. And obviously, being grown up now and learning how to do grown up things. And, you realize again, I've come through things and now I have this ability that maybe I never would have wished on myself, but I'm glad I have to be able to help people who are going through similar things, which is kind of cool. So I, putting positive spin on, childhood trauma is like, hey, there are other people that are going to go through similar things. And I'm someone who can actually be there for them in a way that can understand what they're going through. So I always try and put a positive spin on it that way. But yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, there's a couple of things that came to mind. So like, just what you just said, a lot of times our deepest hurt, pain, what seems like our lowest moment can be what actually transforms into our superpower, right? That you've went through something. I like it that the people will say like that life will qualify you and gives you skills and abilities that then you're able to use. And I've seen you use those skills to help numerous people, usually especially like those young adult age, of them struggling and you understanding exactly what they're going through. Not because from a far away standpoint, but you're like, yeah, I was there. I know what that was. So it's been great to see you counsel and coach and help people, and even older than that as well, right? So that's really cool. So with those things, obviously you had... You said mentioned at 3 years old, right around there, your parents were divorced. So we have these ages, when we're young, like toddlers, infants, where we're super formidable. Like our brains are being developed, our immune system's being developed, and through that, our body learns how to adapt with stress, how to adapt with traumas. And like we said before, when you deal with stress today, right? So someone cuts you off, an email, something that's not life-threatening, this system that our body has is the same as it's been since creation, to where when the stresses were life-threatening, right? And we always talk about a saber-toothed tiger running after you or something like that. To our body, stress is stress. And so our bodies respond the same way as it did when our ancestors were searching for food or running from predators or looking for shelter or whatever. Our body can respond the same way to the angry email, right, or whatever. In that same way, the stresses that you dealt with as a kid, your body's responding to, even like, because you mentioned that the stresses you deal with as an adult, there's still stress, but there might, there's not necessarily, danger or abuse involved or things like that. but it can still be, your response can still, like that initial feeling can be like, oh my goodness, here we go again, right? So I guess
Right.
as I set that up and kind of say all that, how do you think some of the traumas and some of how you were brought up, how has that played into your health and like your overall well-being as an adult?
Right. So, I mean, as a kid, I was, I had a slew of gut issues. Actually, to a point where my mom took me to multiple doctors, had multiple tests done, and they literally couldn't figure out what was wrong. They're like, we see there's an issue here, but we can't figure it out. And they like literally made up a name for it, and I don't even remember what it was, but like they were like, we don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong, but we can't figure it out. Your stomach is a mess. I was also the kid who would fall asleep on the bus. Not even necessarily because I was like up late all night. Like I went to bed at a normal time that a child should go to bed, but I fell asleep. I missed my bus stop every day. My mom would have to call the bus and the bus driver would have to go back around. Yep, she's on the bus. Okay, yeah, she's sleeping. And, they would walk back. And I was so exhausted and just stomach felt sick all the time. That was as a child. I'm now 45 years old and still dealing with some of those things. Like, even as we got healthier, felt like I was in the prime of my life, but still dealing with stomach issues and sleep issues and stuff like that. And even now still trying to figure that out, especially as I'm verging on like this perimenopause stage.
Sure.
Where now I'm got this whole influx of new things that I'm dealing with. And it's like, okay, now these two things are meeting up and it's just, has a whole other effect on your body. But yeah, just the stress of things that I was going through as a child, that effect that it had on my gut, on my sleep, on my whole body. Like even now as an adult, I'm still struggling with these things. And I wonder sometimes how many things have been like just suppressed, where it's like I'm just pushing things down and like trying not to remember. I know that there's times that have come up. I remember recently we were sitting in a church service and the sermon was great. There was nothing wrong with the sermon, but the pastor had said something that triggered a memory. And it was like all of a sudden I had this flood of memories come back that I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. Like I forgot am I like dreaming this? Am I making this up right now? And like, no, that happened. I just had suppressed it for so long and came home and talked to you. I was like, babe, like, I don't think I've dealt with this yet. Mm-hmm. Like this particular thing. And, so just to have those long-term effects, it's crazy how it can continue to still have physical implications, even when you're doing quote unquote healthy things, right? You're eating the healthy foods, you're exercising, you're getting sunlight, you're doing all these things, like suppressing that stress, suppressing, all those things like can really come up and sneak up on you sometimes and still mess with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just kind of underpins the effect that stress has on our life. So, I mean, as, people listening who may be, struggling with, man, I'm making right choices. And, do I eat perfectly? No. Do I exercise, all the time? No. Right. But I'm making good choices. Why are some of these things? And not that you have to, go dig up your past to figure it out. That's not what we're saying. But there could be these underlying stress to where your body could still be holding on to things that happen as a kid, and to where there is this low-grade chronic stress that your body is struggling with, that could be why you're struggling with all of these different health symptoms, not being able to sleep, brain fog, constant fatigue, gut issues or whatever. And so with that, the next kind of seems like obvious question would be like, how do you deal with that? Because like a lot of times you think about dealing with something, right? We can think, okay, I got a sliver, or we pull it out, we deal with it, it's done. Right? There's no longer a sliver, so I'm fine. But when it comes to like past traumas, stress, it's not always that cut and dry. So in your experience, what's the best way to, and I'll say deal in quotation marks there, like the air quotes of how do we deal with that? What does that look like?
Right. I mean, I think the first thing is you're never done dealing with it. It's an ongoing thing, right? Like, because there's things that have come up and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like I feel like I'm at a place now where I can move past that, but then something else will come up or something else will trigger. So it is kind of an ongoing process. Someone who's, going to therapy, it's usually not a one and done session, right? Like you're going to take some time and work through things. And even if like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm in a good spot, months down the road, maybe you're not, and it's okay to get that help. There's such a stigma around therapy and things like that. And it's like, hey man, if you need the help, get the help. And for me, that was, the biggest thing was just having someone that I can trust actually talk through it and not try and fix it. And obviously, like for me, that was you, of being able to, for one, realize, oh, what I went through was not normal. Because I think that's part of it, is like you think as you're going through this stuff, oh, isn't everyone, going through this? Someone has some kind of chaos, and, everyone has some kind of chaos. So this is just mine. This is my life. Everyone's got their own crap they're dealing with, but you don't realize until you're maybe a little bit older, a little bit wiser, that you're like, oh, no, this isn't normal. Or you share stories with friends and you're like, oh, my stories don't sound like your stories.
Right, their faces look weird. You're like, oh, wait.
You're like, wait.
Didn't deal with this?
This wasn't something that was on, the rag for you? Okay, cool. So acknowledging like, hey, what I went through was not normal and it was not okay and I didn't deserve it. Having a trusted person in your life that you can really talk through things with, whether that is a spouse, a close friend, or a therapist, someone that you feel like you can lay it all out there and they're not going to judge you. That's huge. Or fix you. Like, hey, I know I'm broken. I know I have a lot. Like, I just need to get this out there. Can you just hear me and say, yep, that sucks. And you're right. You didn't deserve that. There's nothing you did that warranted how you were treated. And so I think that's a big part of it. I know for me personally, even now, like it's not always necessarily triggered by memories of past trauma or things like that, but there'll be times where I almost have like mini panic attacks, and it literally is like a suffocating feeling where I'm like, oh, I feel like I can't breathe. And one of the habits I've gotten into is using box breathing to help myself through it in those moments of just like, okay, I'm going to breathe, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. And that helps to regulate. And then the constant self-talk in a good way of I'm okay. I'm okay. Of constantly telling myself, you're okay. Like, you're okay. You're in a safe place. You're okay. With that box breathing is how, if there's a moment that's like a high panic moment, that's how I can help bring myself down quickly. But yeah, just recognizing, talking through it, and in the quick moments like that of having a plan in place where it's like, okay, this is when I am feeling high anxiety, when things are chaotic or out of control or whatever, like I'm going to do this. Also for me, like prayer, like 100%, because sometimes you don't always have someone physically there to talk to. And for me, like I talk to God about my issues, and so having that, whatever that looks like in your life, for me, that would be, prayer, but just helps you to deal with that stress. And like I said, it's not a one and done thing, right? It was years in the making. And so it's a weight that you carry. But in a good way, it shapes who you are. I know that you talked about my origin story, like, so who I am today, a wife of 25 years and a mother of 4, but even more than that, even outside of that, like, yes, I want to show up for my husband and my kids, in a way that maybe people hadn't shown up for me. And I also want to show up for others in that way. Like when we bought our house, part of the reason we bought this specific house is because it's a block away from the school.
Right.
And that was a conscious choice because we're like, we want to be the place where our kids can bring their friends home and they know they're safe. When they're here, they're safe, they're taken care of. And I'm not saying every friend that was a friend of my kids was in a situation where they didn't feel safe at home, but I know there were some that did. And we wanted to be that safe haven for people. And so the experiences that I had led me to, when you talk about purpose in life, there's a lot of things I could say, but honestly, my main purpose is I want to make people just feel so comfortable and so welcomed and so loved. We joke about, we had friends that came over after, it was not the first time they came over, a couple times later, and the wife had passed out on the couch after lunch. And it just made me smile. And I'm like, I love that she's so comfortable that she can just fall asleep on our couch and not like that's what I want to provide for people, is where like they can close their eyes and know I'm good. Like I'm safe. And so if that's what came out of all the chaos and craziness and all the things, again, not that it makes it okay, but I can live with that. Like I'm thankful for it illuminating to me maybe things that aren't always illuminated to everybody else. Like seeing in people, seeing when someone's hurting, when maybe someone else doesn't see that they're hurting because they're not attuned to that, because maybe they haven't experienced that. And hey, that's awesome for them. I'm really glad. Like I wish most, that everyone was able to go through life unscathed by life. But in reality, that's just probably not true for most of us. Right. So, being able to share parts of my story that make sense to share and to listen to other people's stories and be that safe place. Like I love being able to be that.
Yeah. I know some of the things you just mentioned, I kind of want to go back and talk about a little bit more about is that idea of self-talk, right? So every thought we have changes the chemistry in our body. Just think about the idea of when you have anxious thoughts, when you have, I can think our son's going through some really cool work stuff right now and has some big decisions to make. And with that, had some big meetings coming up that he had to be part of. I remember talking to him, and before the meeting, it's just like, hey, are you ready or whatever? And I remember asking him, like, hey, did you have lunch? Did you eat breakfast? And he's like, I'm just not hungry. He's like, I know I have this meeting. I'm not hungry. And it's just a small example about how, like, the thoughts, and they weren't bad meetings and everything went great or whatever, but the thoughts he had in his head of thinking about this upcoming meeting literally made him not hungry. It changed his chemistry to where he wasn't hungry. And you can think of tons of examples, butterflies in your stomach and things like that. Like your chemistry is changing. Every thought is changing your chemistry. And your body is adjusting, and whether it be parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous systems are going on and off. What's important to remember is that our thoughts are powerful. That our thoughts are going to more than likely not only just adjust our body, but adjust our direction. And so of going from negative self-talk of I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, or I don't belong, or things that are going to bring you down, to switch to say, no, I am okay. And that wasn't right. And I do deserve this, right? Not from a selfish, entitlement way, but to be like, wait a minute, no. Not only does that switch the chemistry in our body, but it's going to reduce that stress. It's going to get your gut back into alignment. It's going to calm you down. And it would be amazing if it only took one good thought, to be like, oh, all the bad thoughts are gone. That's just not how it works, though. So it is a practice. It'd be great if you lifted, weights one time and you were in great shape. It'd be great if you went for a 1 mile jog and were in the best shape of your life. That's just not how it works.
No.
But when it comes to physical things, weightlifting, exercising, we understand there's a process there. But sometimes when it comes to like these inner thoughts, we forget that there's a process there of thinking differently. You know, the way you think will eventually be what you become. I mean, just think about that. And you mentioned like praying and like, and God's a big part in church, a big part of our life. I mean, what I just said there, that's what the Bible says. The way you think is the way you're eventually going to become.
Right.
So if you want to change your destination, change how you think. Because the way you think will change the habits, and will then eventually change your destination, right?
Yep, it has to start there. I was literally just talking with someone recently who is reaching out for help. And it's funny because it's not even someone that I know super well, but every once in a while they'll reach out and just say, hey, like, I'm struggling with my thoughts. And I'll ask them, like, what are the thoughts saying? And like, not good things, negative things. I'm like, okay, you have to break that cycle. And like, I'm the first to admit, I struggle with that. Like, going through what I went through, I never felt good enough. I still struggle with feeling like I'm good enough at anything. And I need to, again, it sounds so like selfish or, conceited or whatever you want to say, to be like, no, you are good enough. But like, no, you are good enough. You need to change that thought pattern from the negative things to thinking the positive and what's actually true. And if there's things that need to change, like, okay, that's good too, because it's true and you can make it to, better. You can change it to make it better. But like just talking through, with this person of just like, hey, like, you've got to break that cycle, because if you let it play on repeat, it's going to become true. Like, and if that's not what you want to be, then change it. You got to change it. And it's easier said than done, right? Like, I can sit here and say, oh yeah, just change your thought patterns. Oh gosh, like, that's a mouthful, like right. It is hard to change patterns that have been, deep dug grooves in your brain, right? Like, of what you think about yourself. But the cool thing is you can change. Yep. It isn't impossible. And that's where having people in your life who are constantly reiterating the good and positive about you, like, that really helps. Like, surround yourself with people who encourage you and uplift you, and not just yes people of like, oh my gosh, Michelle, you're so great, you're so wonderful, we think you're beautiful. Like, okay, like, I need the truth too. Like, you don't want just a bunch of yes men, but like, you need people who are going to encourage you and love on you. So make sure those people are in your life.
Yeah, that's just going to say that. And if you're one of those people for somebody, like, understand the vulnerability that they're giving you, that they're having with you, and be a listener.
Right.
Be the encourager. Be truth, but you can always be truthful and loving at the same time, right? But take that seriously. I would just say, for, husbands out there, men, like take time to like listen to your wives. And I said, not that I have this down perfectly, so that's not what I'm saying, but like, just to listen and to not be a fixer. That can be me. All right, hey, we'll just do this. We'll just do this. So just take your greens, right?
You just take your greens. The whole world would fall into place. Everything would be better.
But of just listening, and maybe there is no answer. Maybe sometimes there's, feedback or whatever, but, of being that helpful listening person, because it's going to not only help your spouse as far as like as a person, it'll bring us closer together, but at a biological standpoint, like it's helping your health, right? It's actually helping your health and to be better. So be that. So let's switch gears a little bit here, okay. Right? So not that, we could probably talk on that for forever and may come back to it or whatever, but so let's switch gears a bit though, right? So our story, we lost combined nearly 200 pounds, nearly 6 feet of fat between us. We've said it before, we'll say it again. You were and still are, the main grocery shopper in our house. The chef in our house, right? You put the meals together, you cook it. You really do a great job of managing our house. So when this happened, when we lost this weight, you also had the bakery, right? And it was a crazy successful bakery. Like, it wasn't quit because it wasn't successful. It was actually becoming so successful. We weren't sure if that's what you really want, right? So I know it's a whole different story, but how did you do all that, right? How did you do all that to where you're a wife, a mother, have your own career? We're all trying to lose weight, so there's some big adjustments happening. How did you manage all that? What did you do? How did you put your arms around all that?
Well, this is maybe where I took my crazy and put it to good use and made it my superpower. That crazy organization and needing to, have some control over the chaos when I was a kid really played into how I was able to control the chaos of our lives while we were trying to do 5 million different things and lose weight. Organization was my best friend during that time. Having a calendar that was very well organized and color coded and all the things, meal planning, I was able to go back to that, but in a positive way. Of like, okay, I'm going to use all the things that I taught myself to cope with the stress, but now the stress looks different and it's a safe stress. But like, okay, now I can use those organizational skills to better my husband and better myself and better my kids and my household as a whole. And so, that's where, having lists, so I love lists. I know I've talked about this before. I am the person who makes a list. And if there's things that are going on the list that are already even half done, they're still going on the list because I want to be able to check them off.
Yeah.
Even if it's things I've already done, they're going on the list so I can check them off. All that kind of stuff is really what helped stay on track with the goals that we had, of being able to map that out and having just a little bit of control over the chaos. And so if you're not an organized person and you're looking to lose weight, I would say be willing to learn a little bit at least. You don't have to be crazy like me. You don't have to be the person who wants to, make sure every label is facing a certain way and you have the same number of everything in the same rows. And I could go on about all the things, but I won't. But try and find the areas that are the most chaotic. Try and find some kind of system that works. It doesn't have to be what you see on Pinterest or what they're selling to you through the Instagram algorithms. You don't need to buy. I just saw a calendar. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's almost like a Google Calendar type thing, but for your wall. And I was like, it was like $300. I'm like, oh, dear Lord. If that works for you, with a monthly subscription, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not that. Maybe not that. Maybe that is what works for you and you have the finances to do it. By all means, go for it. It just wasn't for me. So, but you find something that works to manage the areas that are the most stressful, and then just grow step by step from there. There are things that I do now that I didn't start with that make life easier. It was, okay, here's the big things. Here's the huge overhaul things. Okay, I need to really start meal planning. I didn't do a ton of meal prep at that point, but I was planning out our meals. Okay, I need to have a good handle on the calendar. When do we have games? When do we have after school activities? When do we have work events and things like that? Let's get those on there because that lets me know, okay, this weekend is crazy. We've got 3 parties. Eating's probably not going to be great. Let's eat a little bit lighter at the beginning of the week. So having a handle on that kind of stuff, like I said, that's when organization really became my superpower that was instilled in me at a very young age.
Yeah. So, okay. So with that, something you said that, because I kind of wanted to ask you some more about that. So meal planning, even meal prep, right? So what would be some easy ways, some entry level ways, right? If someone was like, okay, meal planning, I know that's going to be, and that was helpful for us, right? Because it can be easy to see, the beginning, which is chaos, and you want to see the end, which is this organized masterpiece. And there's probably steps in between those two things, right? Of refining. I'm going to try this. That one really didn't work, but if I do it this way, that works a little bit better, right? Same thing with meal prep, right? It would be amazing if, everything was cut and chopped and put in, containers, and everything was just easy to grab and go. And maybe that's what the end result one day will be. Probably not going to be what it is day one if
Right.
you have no idea how to meal prep now. So what would be some easy, low resistance ways if someone's like, okay, I want to start meal planning, of ways that they could get started with that, right? And with that, maybe also too with meal prep, right? If they're like, okay, meal plan and meal prep, I want to get healthier. I know these are some things, I want to help my family to get healthier, right? Whether male, female, whoever it is, right? In our family, you're the one who does most of that. There's other families where it's the husband who does most of that, right? Either way, someone wants to do that. What are some entry level, like easy ways they can get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first thing would be start with what you have. So go through your pantry, go through your refrigerator. I think it's amazing how many people have no idea what's in either. And here's the thing. One of my goals in this lifetime is to make a refrigerator that is functional. Those things are so deep that you lose half the stuff in the back. Because if you don't see it, let's be honest. If I can't see it easily, it's forgotten. It
Right.
goes into the black hole of refrigerator forgottenness, of things that will be growing their own food, like of mold and nastiness, before I even realize it's back there. One day I will design the perfect refrigerator that is actually cost effective. Because I've seen a couple and I'm like, oh, but I'm also not spending $100,000 on a refrigerator because that's crazy. But anyway, go through your refrigerator, take everything out, throw out the things that are growing other things. Like, it's not helping anybody back there. And I get it. It's hard in this day and age to want to waste food. So like, it's hard to say, oh, well, throw out all the junk. I get it. Throw out what you know is going to be just too much of a temptation and is just absolutely awful for you. And then just rearrange. It doesn't have to be like you see, I'll go on Instagram and I see these, reels of people who are restocking their fridge and it's like all color coded and beautiful with these amazing containers and this and that. And I'm like, dude, where's your milk? Like, where are your leftovers? Like, no one lives like this. This is not what a normal refrigerator looks like.
Right.
So you got to use what works for you. Don't try to live up to what you see on the gram. No one lives like that. It's literally made for Instagram. It's very pretty. And trust me, it makes me drool because I love all the color-coded things and the beautiful matching containers. But it's not realistic. What you have to figure out for yourself is a system that works. Okay, put your leftovers somewhere where you can see them front and center so they don't go bad and get wasted. Because we have people who have very different tastes, we have like 50 different kinds of milk and 50 different kinds of condiment sauce, barbecue sauce and chili sauce and ginger sauce. And I'm like, we have more sauces and dipping things in our fridge. It makes me crazy. But if they're all together, at least I can see what we have, So I try to keep all my produce in one spot. And if I can come home from the grocery store and chop some stuff and clean things up right away and put those in the front, that's awesome. That doesn't always happen. Today I went grocery shopping. It all got thrown in the fridge because I knew we were going to be recording a podcast. So I'll get to it tomorrow.
Right.
And that's okay. But if you have designated spaces for the things you use the most or the things you want to be using the most, that's what's going to be helpful. Put the healthy things towards the front, the things you want to use up. We have an upright freezer because I buy meat in bulk and will, freeze it. There would be times when I would literally go to the freezer and make a list of every kind of cut of meat we had in there and how many of each. And I know this sounds crazy, but that way when you're wondering what to make, you can look and be like, oh, I have 6 pounds of ground beef in there. So if I want to make something with ground beef, that's great. I have no chicken. So, okay, maybe I need to throw chicken on the grocery list the next time I go. But use up what you have already and then start from there. Start implementing, like if you're like, oh, I want to really focus on eating more fish. Okay, well then don't buy 62 pounds of ground beef. Get some fish in the freezer, things like that. But it's okay to start where you are with your pantry, with whatever's in there. Again, the things that are absolutely awful for you and you're not going to be able to say I'll just have one or two. Just get rid of it. If it makes you feel better to give it to someone else who has self-control, do it. But at the same time, don't feel bad about throwing those kind of things out. Everything else, shift it so that you can see the things that you are content with putting in your body, right? Like maybe it's the mixed nuts or homemade granola or whatever, maybe the Cheez-Its shouldn't be in the front. And once those are gone, maybe don't buy them again.
Right.
I know that's kind of what I did, and that's helpful. And I continue to do that now. Again, because I love everything containers. Like some girls get really excited about like when shoes go on sale and stuff. I'm the girl come January when all the containers are on sale because everyone's got their resolutions. It's post-Christmas. Right. Everyone's organizing, and that's when I'm truly excited. I'm like, give me all the containers. I love the jars. I love all the things. So our pantry is all jars because I can see what's in them. I can see how much is left. If it's in a box, and for one, where the plastic inside isn't even closed because one of the kids went in and grabbed 3 crackers and then left it wide open, now it's stale. I have no idea what's in there. I can't see because it's in a box, in a bag, that's not even closed.
Or you go to, someone puts the bag back with 1 chip in it because they didn't want to finish it.
And you're like, there's a whole box.
And you're like, this is empty.
Yep, this is empty. This is an empty box in my pantry. This is where the see-through jars are helpful. This is where the see-through jars, yeah. So if I can say anything, being able to see all your stuff. So I know clear containers, especially glass containers, which I would recommend, it can get expensive quick. Don't go out and switch everything out in one sitting. Like, it'll cost you a fortune. But if there's things that you use on a regular basis, like, let me put these in some glass containers, or the ball jars. Like I said, I use the big quart ball jars. They're great for storing things in. And then you can actually see what's in there and actually use up what's in there. Yeah. So that would be where I would start. Start small. Again, it doesn't have to be all of it at once. And if you're a crazy organization freak like me and it just makes you so giddy and happy, then this is where you can have your heyday with the food, because it'll make it so much easier for everyone else too. Yeah.
Use the path of least resistance. That's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So I know one of the things that you've done when the time allows for it or whatever is, like you said, of chopping up, cleaning, chopping the carrots, the celery, the sugar snap peas, even, this might sound annoying, but taking the grapes off of the vine and putting them in a bowl, right? And keeping that bowl in the fridge. Like,
how many times have you thrown out grapes because they sit there and turn into raisins and no one eats them?
Because they're in the bag.
But if you just wash them and take them off, and I will say, that's one of those annoying things, because picking the grapes off individually doesn't take forever, but it takes much longer than it feels like it should.
Right.
But you put those in the bowl, and I tell you what, every time they're gone. Right. I haven't thrown out a grape since doing that.
Yeah, and if you cut up the carrots into snack-size spots and you put that at the front, someone's looking for a snack, it's way easier to grab that, right? So if someone looks and they see a carrot that's like
needs to be
giant
peeled.
Size, it has to be cleaned, it has to be peeled, it has to be, someone's going to be like, this is just
not worth it,
right? So I know some of the things you did to help us in regards to like the quick snacking and things like that. You've already mentioned with the meal planning of like looking at a calendar of what do we have coming up? What do I realistically have time to make between, games and, extracurriculars and whatever you have going on, right? Planning for, we have this event coming up and that's going to be, we're going out to eat with these friends. And so let's keep it lighter that. So all of that and having a calendar, and I know that we have multiple calendars, right? But like the one that we have in our kitchen is where we keep all that stuff to where we can kind of start looking at, hey, we have this going on. And like you actually have a chalkboard that you write, says at the top menu. It's not always completed, but most of the time it has on there, Sunday through Saturday of what the dinners are going to be. So I know that helps me, because one of my biggest questions always, because my breakfast is usually pretty standard, but hey, what do you want for lunch? Well, what's for dinner? Right. Well, I don't got to ask him, Mark, and look and say, we're having homemade smash burgers for dinner. Okay, I'll just take a salad for lunch then, right? But if we're having, a salad for dinner, I might do a little bit more of a wrap for lunch, right? So that planning can kind of help you stay on goal. And like you said, just start where you're at. And those are things that were critically helpful in us that you did that were just amazing. So, super cool. So if there was only like 1 or 2 things that you could make everyone start doing right now for better health, right? You have the magic wand and you're like, everyone's going to do this right now. You're going to, ding your wand or whatever,
Ding the wand. I think that's yeah,
so,
that sounds right.
No, I just think about like like when Tinkerbell does the thing, it's like ding.
Ding.
Yeah,
okay,
so
I get you.
I don't know what's that called. It's dinging the wand.
That's what it is from now on. I tell you that.
Yeah. So whatever. So if you could ding the wand and have everyone do one or two things that are going to improve their health, what would those things be?
Okay. So first thing, because I know this is really hard for me, but it's necessary, and sometimes I need a reminder that it's necessary, is ask for help. Like, just ask for help. You are not in it alone. I don't care if you live alone, you're still not in it alone. You are important to someone. And so ask for help, whether that's physically, whether that's help in the kitchen, whether that's I'm stressed and I'm dealing with negative emotions and negative thoughts and I need someone to talk to. Always ask for help. Like, that in and of itself, gosh, it will help your health so much. Whether the physical, the mental, the emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, knowing that you have someone in your corner that you can talk to. Don't be afraid to reach out. And then for people who have someone like me in their life, so like for you, like, ask them if they need help. Don't assume that because someone is doing something that they're okay doing it on their own. I know as a mother, as a wife, and as the head chef in our household, I can take on a lot of that responsibility and I'll do it, but it's always nicer when someone's doing it with me. It can get frustrating or overwhelming when you're the only one out there by yourself, doing all the meal prep and doing everything, and everyone's in the other room watching TV or playing video games or doing something. You're like, cool, yeah, I'd like to do that too. And I wish they'd come out here and help. And yeah, I could ask, but don't they know I'm out here, by myself? And so like, if you're on the other side of that, like, recognize that. Ask, what can I do? And don't take no for an answer, because I know that control freaks like to be control freaks and say, oh, I got it. No, I want to help. Put me to work.
Yeah, I'm either going to be out here in your way or I'm going to be out here helping you. So you pick.
Yep, so you pick. So yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And just start with all of these things that we've talked about. Like, just start small. Start somewhere. Make the small changes. And if you are, I do want to say, like, if you are dealing with something traumatic in your life, whether it's something that happened in the past or is currently happening, maybe you're in a toxic relationship and you don't know how to get out, please reach out to someone. Reach out to us. Like, shoot us a DM. I will do whatever I can to help, or at least get you in touch with the right people. But know that you're not alone, that like mental health is just as important as your physical health. And if your mental health is not in check, your physical health most definitely will not be also. So I just want to reiterate that and let you know you're not alone. You are awesome, even when you don't feel it.
Great words of wisdom right there. That's amazing. No, that's great. Awesome. So we'll ask you the questions that we ask all of our guests at the end.
I'm ready.
All right. Michelle, what is your rudimentary ritual, right? That one thing that you do on a regular basis that's important to you, simple, but is impactful to your health?
All right. Obviously, we've talked about so many, and I mentioned this already in this episode, but had that box breathing technique. If you're someone like me who can struggle with anxiety or panic attacks or things of that nature, that box breathing really can be a good tool in the box of tools that you use to cope with that. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just that if you've never heard of that phrase before, it's where you breathe in for a 4 count. So it would be 4 in, and then you hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just repeat and you just count in your head, and it gives your mind and your body something to focus on outside of whatever chaos or anxiety that you're dealing with. It just helps your system to regulate and all these things. There's a lot of benefits to it. I know like they teach firefighters to do this in extreme situations and like all these different things. Like it does work. So that's something that, like I said, is my go-to, whether I'm in a high stress moment or I'm laying awake in bed and can't sleep because things are in my head, not even necessarily stressful, but like I'm thinking about stuff for tomorrow. And I'm like, yep, when I'm sleeping, the only job I have is sleeping. I need to not be thinking about tomorrow. So let me work on my breathing, and that'll usually help me fall right asleep.
No, that's good. Yeah, box breathing is super powerful. Like, it's super powerful. So, all right, recipe. What's a recipe that you want to share with us that will be on our website for everyone who's listening to go try out?
All right, so this
As
one's
the head chef.
As the head chef. This one's a little different than a lot of the ones that we've been sharing. I love Asian food, all of it. I have not tasted anything that I don't like, I don't think. But one of my most favorite things are dumplings or pot stickers, whatever you want to call them. If we go to a restaurant and that's on the menu, even if it's not an Asian restaurant, like I'm getting them. Like it's a non-negotiable.
7-Eleven dumplings.
Yes, 7-Eleven dumplings. Yes, give me them all. You might have to fight. Me and my daughter might have to fight over the last one sometimes because she likes them too. I'm looking this way because it's the daughter that's also our sound engineer.
Yeah.
Autumn knows what I'm talking about. Like, she's a dumpling lover.
Autumn
I raised her right.
Some dumplings.
Loves you some dumplings. But they're so good, and they're definitely not the most healthy thing. But we started making them homemade. I found a recipe and then kind of tweaked it to make it our own. And it's actually not difficult. Like, you make the pork mixture, which is not a ton of ingredients, but you mix it up. You don't even cook it. You get little like wonton wrappers, and you take a teaspoon and you drop the dumpling mixture into the wrapper, and then you fold it a certain way and put it in the pan. And they're delicious. But one of the reasons I like this recipe the most is it's not hard, but it is time consuming because wrapping each of those little suckers takes some time.
Right.
So, and it's a recipe that my girls never have a problem helping me with. That they're like, ooh, well, you're making dumplings? Okay. And we get our own little like line and we see who can do it better. And inevitably there's always someone who does it backwards and ends up looking more like the hats that they wear, like in The Handmaid's Tale. Mm-hmm. And that's not how they're supposed to look, but it looks like we have like a bunch of little Handmaid's Tale dumplings on the tray. But everyone helps. It's fun. We sit there and we share some tea while we, not actual drinking tea, like the tea.
Right.
All the craziness happening, and we make our dumplings. And then
I like tea, both herbal and verbal.
Both herbal and verbal. I love it. I got you a sticker that said that for Christmas. And autumn.
Oh, and autumn.
And autumn. But no, they're delicious. And they're fun to make. I know me and the girls, I think you were hanging out with Caleb, and me and the girls made them one time. And I want to say we made 60 of them.
A lot.
And we ate them all.
I mean, there's 6 of us here.
But there was only, I think there was
here.
only maybe 4 of us at the time, though. And I think Jordan came over and ate a couple of them. But like the 4 of us polished off like 60 dumplings. And I was like, guys, that was not the healthy thing to do. I don't even care, though. Those were delicious. No regrets. So yeah, you want to pound down, 60 dumplings with your kids, go for it. I say more power to you.
There you go.
They're delicious. Slightly less nutritious, but still delicious.
Well, I mean, and then it's the experience of making them together as well, right?
That's why we don't make them all the time. Yeah. But they're good. They're good.
So we'll put that recipe, we'll put the link to the show notes in that. We'll also put a link to the show notes on. We have a couple episodes about stress that we'll put up there as well. They kind of dive into some other tactics of working through and dealing with stress. And like you said, there's help out there. Reach out, and people aren't alone. So, but yeah. So with that, I mean, Michele, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me today.
I mean, it was amazing. So, with it being May, we have Mother's Day, which is why I wanted to do yours. Spoiler alert, in June, there'll be not necessarily a Father's Day one, but I'll share my story.
Eric's story.
So,
hear about little Eric.
Yep. Aww. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you for being with me today.
Of course.
Being an amazing part of TRL, as well as part of our family here. So, But yeah, and with that, everyone, thanks for listening. We truly hope you found some value in this episode, found some nuggets to take away that will help you and your family to be able to easily improve your health, and a couple different steps there. If you did enjoy the episode, let us know. Tag us. We're at the Rudimentary Life. Share it on your story. Share it on your on your feed. Tag someone else, maybe another mother or woman you know who would really benefit from listening to this, and tag us as well. We would love to see that. As we always say, we have a ton going. We already mentioned we have an episode with Eric's story coming up. But stick with us, like, subscribe, and have a great day. If you want more of Eric and Michele Hall and TRL Radio in your life, and honestly, who doesn't, head over to theRudimentaryLife.com.
There, you'll be able to find all the things, show notes, videos, step-by-step instructions for each recipe, more ways to connect with us and join in with whatever shenanigans we're getting into.
Yeah, and for extra credit, leave us a rating on your favorite listening app. We definitely appreciate all the love.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.